The guy in Columbus, do you know?
Yeah, Dennis Giraldi. He used to work in Manhattan.
There's a guy, they know a rep on the street for the scanning center where they're advertising
He's
guy.
a marketeer for the scanning center.
He is the
He's
marketeer?
well,
This guy is the guy, he is not doing, there's no awareness. Something is not
Well,
going
they
right.
don't even open it 2 weeks, right? You know.
He's also, he has another marketer as well.
Does he do the marketing?
He does it himself. He's also the manager. He also has a marketer that works for him as well.
Is that one of your sales? We'll talk and I have this list. I mean, they don't know it's there. And we're doing just a 25-mile radius of it.
Well, he's a pretty active guy. And is Giraldi or
Giraldi.
Giraldi, yeah. He was a marketeer for a scanning center in New York, and he's pretty good.
Well, then maybe what he needs is...
He's working for the owner of the scanning
Okay,
center.
so maybe what he needs is a starting kind of a contact agreement, like we said, so he knows where to start going. Because from my impression of the territory, he must be shooting fish in a barrel.
Well, he's only been open a few weeks.
Right, but it's up and running though, right? So I mean, I'm saying for the future as well, what I would say is that front work 60 days before should be geared up already for when they open.
Just to give Dennis, that particular fellow, the fairness, he is very good. He knows the product very well. He is doing more office work right now he's the office manager.
Oh, okay.
So he, you know, I mean, we like to say to people this, sometimes we like to see the same office manager out there being the marketer. It's a very difficult job. It's a 70-hour-a-week job to do that.
Right. Yeah, well, let me correct what I said, by the way. I said something wrong. The scanner has been open a year.
Yeah.
But it's inside a hospital.
Yeah.
So marketing a scanner inside the hospital is very different, because, at least the way the hospital would look at it. Because, no, I had it wrong.
He's not in the
I got it
hospital.
mixed up with Indiana.
He's in a private office, right?
It's
On Ackerman,
It's
right?
freestanding.
Yeah.
It's working in conjunction with Bill Maris and Rolfs.
With Rolfs and Maris. But it's only been open a short time, right?
Maybe 7 or 8 months.
A year.
A year.
It's been a year.
It's been a year.
It has been a year, okay.
See, what we could do in that case, for example, just throwing up all the options, an owner where we could build into a package when they're getting their machine that 60 days ahead of time, we could create all that buzz. So the day they open and they have a manager or a marketing person or whatever, that buzz has already started and they know where to go to attract the additional business. If he's internal, then really, frankly, in my opinion, you need to sit down with the business owner and say, look, it works hand in hand. Realizing he needs to be inside, you might need somebody else out on the outside. Or you may need somebody like a direct contacting company to do those first 500 contacts for you in 25 miles and then start sending your marketer. And the reason I think that from your ideas, you get a lot of one-time scans and then not duplicate scans because the marketer in some ways drops the ball. That would be the place as a salesman where I would focus, because the minute you can figure out how to get that to 80%, I think the track record shows that they'll buy a second machine.
I just made an experiment with Yonkers.
Yeah.
My marketing manager does 12 to 40 calls a day.
Yeah.
Physically?
Physically?
Yes.
Okay.
And we were doing 15, 16 patients a day.
Okay.
I hired a young woman to work 3 days. I'm reaching already 19.
I got a machine for you, Sal. I got paperwork in the other room. Can we get you another one?
Where would I buy it?
We're trying to know where to find it. No, but it makes it an obvious next step to double the sales. Right.
And you gain it because our competitors in the centers don't work as hard.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't do it.
Yeah.
So when you do it, you get the patients.
It took us 7 days to get the other reps on average to call us from the competition, leaving a message saying we wanted to invest in an MRI. Some of them we couldn't even, I mean, it was like, I'll be gone for a week. If you want to call somebody in Indiana, call them. You know, basically, was they left messages. Yeah, right. Well, they have some kind of GE has some kind of crazy transferring system that they, you know, if you're going to be away, I'll leave 2 names of people. I mean, it was just was ridiculous. It took about a week to get calls back.
You go to India first. You learn how to think.
That's right. But this was something that, you know, I would say the competition is, you know, like old money. Truly, they're like old money. We have to think like new money. We have to be more aggressive. We have to do it by blowing the horn and letting everybody know it's there. This is that kind of opportunity. And let's face it, guys, everybody knows the tipping point's out there. I call it, has everybody read that book called The Tipping Point? By Malcolm Gladwell. It's a very good book. It talks about making social changes, and they give the examples of how Rudy Giuliani cut crime down to almost nothing in New York. Gives the example. You know, I just real quick, because it's so interesting. He brought psychologists on board, and what they found was that if a building had one broken window, they went into bad neighborhoods. If it had one broken window in it, it was a target for everybody to throw rocks at. The minute you replaced the windows in the building and told everybody in the neighborhood that we're going to replace all the windows with one thing that you have to consider, it's then your job to keep the neighborhood looking the way we're going to make it. So we'll make that transformation. It's your responsibility to keep it up. What they found was there was no more rocks thrown, and this they can show psychologically and through all their studies and the psychology of a criminal and moving further and further, and that was basically how they removed the temptation for these kind of people to be around. So this book, The Tipping Point, talks about these hush puppies were almost gone until a couple of hip people in Soho went out partying in them. And then everybody wanted to know, now where can you get hush puppies? They went from 30,000 units a year to 400,000 units a year again. That's what this book is about, how to affect these kinds of changes. That tipping point is somewhere in, I think, the not too distant future. But the only way you're going to make that tipping point is with the buzz on this one. We already have all the arguments. We know what the arguments back are going to be. All we have to do now is be willing to go out and shout as loud as we can. And some of the work you can do, some that's overwhelming size-wise, maybe when we get to the point where we want to do it everywhere, that might be too much. But I did it. I got on the phone and I made a couple of these calls so I could work out the initial script. And then I put basically an inexpensive person. She's a little more expensive. She's like $15 an hour. And just plowing through it. It was an enjoyable experience because I believe in the product. Now, if you're having any doubts about the product, this is a place where we're going to see it, where you'll see it in the analytics. That would be a perfect place. The numbers are going to show whether or not you're sold on the product yourself enough. I can tell you what, as soon as I was given the opportunity to talk to people about this product, it was the first thing I did when I left this building and got in my car. I got on the phone and I started making calls right away. And I got guys that said, you know what, Glenn, medical's not my thing. I'm not a medical guy. You know, I see these declining things and all the problems and doctors fighting and the loss. I don't like that kind of a business. But then you have guys who go, people are getting older, we're living longer, they're seeing doctors more and more every year, there's more and more advantages to medicine. These guys see it as this trend going up that's never going to stop. So you'll find some that sure they'll blow you out. Hey, look, do you know anybody who closes anybody they go and see? Everybody they go and see, excuse me. No, but I'm saying actually closes the deal every single time. No, you know the only person who closes the deal every single time? A liar. Exactly. That's the only person who closes it every single time. So if our business as a professional is 1 in 3, you are considered a professional in any sales organization. If you're doing 1 in 3 in a sales organization that I run, I'll pick you up for work. Because that's the kind of guy that you want to have in your operation. Those people only produce themselves by seeing lots of leads and getting so polished in what they're doing. They're looking people straight in the eye, no doubt about what they're talking about. No, I'm going to hear 1.5 or 3. None of these things. I'm going to hear that the investment's twice as much as the incumbent. That forget them. It's a